Okay, here's a trivia question for you. Who do you think smokes more pot? White people or black people? Do you think there's a big disparity? Seriously, think of it for a second. All right, answer. Well, apparently there's not much difference. Like, at all, really. On any given year over the last decade, there's roughly a 2% disparity. In fact, if you look at 18 to 25-year-olds, it's white people who smoke more weed. Now, take a look at this. This is the arrest rate for marijuana possession among white people and African Americans. On average, African Americans are nearly 4 times more likely to be arrested for possession of pot than white people. 4 times. This is the major takeaway from an incredible, very thorough blockbuster report from the American Civil Liberties Union released today. Among the findings, in 2010, 52% of all drug arrests were over marijuana. In that same year, states spent more than $3.6 billion on enforcing marijuana possession laws. And in the previous decade, 88% of all marijuana arrests everywhere were for possession. And it's not necessarily in the places you would expect. In 6 states and Washington, D.C., black people are at least 5 times more likely to be arrested for having weed. The worst disparity, Iowa. If you have a nickel bag on you in Iowa, you're nearly 8.5 times more likely to be arrested if you are black. The grand irony of this is at the political level, marijuana use has never been more accepted in the United States. A recent Pew poll shows more than 52% of the country supports legalizing pot. The first time there has ever been majority support. And overall drug arrests in the United States are going down. But the trend line for arrests due to marijuana possession has gone the other way. And these arrests are for possession, not drug dealing, simple possession. And even though white people and black people are possessing marijuana at a similar rate, one group gets busted a whole lot more than the other. Joining me now is Kevin Powell, the president of BK Nation, a group focusing on racial disparities in criminal justice and education. And if you think you recognize him from season 1 of The Real World and you're of my generation, you are correct. I had to do that because I'm like, all right, yeah, Kevin Powell, right. So, Kevin, here's the question. Why does the disparity exist? Just explain to me why it exists.
Well, this war on drugs, which I remember when I was a teenager coming of age in the 1980s, has always seemed to target communities of color. And so this is nothing new. I feel that it's tied directly to this policy of stop and frisk. You have these twin evils of this war on marijuana, which is affecting black people, as the ACLU report shows so definitively. And then you have this whole policy of stop and frisk. Just last year in New York City, where we are now, over 500,000 people stopped. Majority of them are black and Latino young males. And so I feel that there's just been this incredible effort to criminalize an entire community, and specifically the black community. And when you look at the money that's spent per year around the country, $3.6 billion. If you look at Washington State, which has legalized marijuana, if you multiply it across the country, we could actually generate $8.7 billion in revenue for our country to put into drug treatment programs, public school system, community safety programs, and actually helping develop a better relationship between the police and the community if we legalized it.
So here's the interesting question about legalization.
Yeah.
What are the racial politics of legalization? Because here's what I feel like. You're smiling at me because I feel like when I turn on the television, I watch the folks who are leading the charge for legalization in a state like Colorado. I see a lot of white folks. And I see the same thing in Washington. I see a lot of white folks. And I feel like the aesthetics of the issue, I feel like there is not the multiracial coalition right now to make that happen right now. Or am I missing something?
Well, black people feel that legalizing marijuana is a white person's issue, white people's issue. I happen to disagree with that. I'm like, there was a time when liquor was prohibited in this country during Prohibition, 1920s. What I'm saying is that we do need a progressive multicultural coalition that's going to deal with this issue, because I work in the community as an organizer. Brooklyn, New York has the biggest black community in America. I'm in the criminal justice system all the time dealing with people, and you see the disparity downtown Brooklyn in the court system. Who's there? And a lot of time it's for marijuana possession. And so I think it's really outdated for my community to say that it's only a white person's issue. But at the same time, I also think that the white community has to make a better effort to make it a coalition as well. It's got to go both ways.
I do, because I do think like that's the missing piece right now in this political fight. You got the stop and frisk fight in New York City, and I think white liberals are on board with that.
Right.
And then you've got these issues in Colorado and Washington, which don't seem to be building the multiracial coalition we need to get the solution full stop across the board. Kevin Powell, the president of BK Nation, here at the table helping me build the coalition I speak of. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, there are a couple of things that are very special about Chris Christie's special election to fill the seat of late Senator Frank Lautenberg. Like, for instance, that it's being held 3 weeks before the state's actual election day. More on that next.